My name's David. I'm from Calypso Bay Neighbourhood Watch Facebook page. About a month ago we put a post up on our page just in regards to the real estate in the area, and we had a good analysis from Nathan Simon from All Properties Gold Coast. So I've got Nathan here, and I've got a couple of questions for Nathan. Thanks for joining us, Nathan.
No worries, Dave.
Mate, just tell us a bit about yourself, how long you've been in the real estate for, what attracted you to the industry, and go for it.
Yeah, so we spoke about this just a bit before. I've had an interesting journey back into real estate. I actually entered real estate back when I was 17 years old, which 8 years ago I think it is now that I've got my maths right. I worked for a company as a door knocker basically, so they threw me straight in the deep end. My job was to knock on doors in Kingston and Woodridge, if everyone knows those areas, right?
Harder sales?
Yeah, which is a 17-year-old who probably looked like he just turned 8. And look, I had some interesting experiences. I did quite well back then. I got 7 listings in the time that I was there in a few months before I sort of got the idea that that company wasn't moving in the direction that I wanted. And that's when I was offered a job actually down on the Gold Coast with Ray White, working as the assistant for the #1 agent in Queensland at the time. And that's where I sort of kicked off from there. I learnt a lot from them. I went to all these listing appointments, open homes. I learned how to deal with buyers and make sure that I kept all clients happy and negotiate a really good price. And then I got sent out on my own. I just turned 18. I think I maybe might have looked 10 by this age. Didn't have a beard, couldn't grow a beard. I'd never rented a property. I was actually living in my girlfriend's house at the time. I'd never owned a home. And to be honest with you, I didn't know much about the process to get into the market. And I did quite well in that time. I was an agent for 6 months. I sold 7 houses, but I kept getting the same rejection back then. It was my age and experience. I couldn't provide professional advice and information that would help. So I took a break. I went away, I travelled the world. I've had a child since then. I've bought multiple houses, renovated, sold. I've been through the process multiple times, and I've done a lot of work to come back into this industry via sales, training and things like that.
Excellent.
And I took the plunge last year in March. I came back on board with All Properties Group. Chris Gilmore, I've stayed in touch with for 8 years now. He's #1 agent in Queensland, and he's wanted me to work for him for 8 years. And this brand aligns with my visions quite well.
Yeah, cool.
So March last year I came back in. At the time I was still working a full-time job. So I was actually selling construction equipment full-time on the road, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then I'd come home at 6 p.m, put my daughter to bed, and then I'd start working on real estate. I'd go out at night time, hand out brochures, I'd make phone calls all weekends, door knock all weekends, until I started getting the traction and sales to eventually quit my full-time job in August last year, and came on board. So since I've done that, since August, I've sold 15 houses, an average of $1 million per property, and things are tracking really well. So I'm on track for $25 million in sales this year.
Excellent.
And yeah, that's sort of how everything's come to fruition.
Awesome.
And look, I love property. I remember back in primary school, one of the first books I ever read, and I don't like reading books, I'll tell you that, was property investment. I'm trying to remember the exact book, but it was basically just about how to buy property, how to turn it into money, and what to do in the future. And it just keeps listing back to that pretty much.
Excellent. You said you're working under Chris Gilmore, which is a great mentor. I suppose what separates or differentiates a average real estate agent to a top performing one?
Look, I think the big difference, especially with what we do in comparison to a regular real estate agent, and you can compare via marketing is the best way to do it, but most real estate agents think of themselves as real estate agents and take away the point that we're actually marketing agents. Our job is to do the best possible marketing, get as many eyeballs on a property to generate as much interest and offers to get the best result for an owner. Most real estate agents don't understand that. So they do the basics. They get some professional photos, they put it online, they put their fingers crossed and hope that they've priced it well and let buyers come through, and hopefully they'll get an offer. Good agents are proactive in that space. They do marketing completely different, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly. And they're changing things. So they're not overpricing houses. They're changing things constantly to match the buyer demand and obviously the seller's expectations, and generate results. And that's what I do really well, and that's what All Properties Group specialise in. We've got in-house marketing, which makes us different from everyone else, and we've got the best training worldwide available right now.
Awesome. And look, I've sold 4 properties last year, both in Melbourne and Adelaide, and I've always gone with the agent who could show me a different way to sell it, a more unique way, and it came through to me very, very clearly, because I'd approached 3 or 4 agents, that this is what they present to all their clients. I want someone that's unique and someone to show me a different way to market my property. So I think that's a great strategy, mate. So, and look, coming back to your video, you've basically said in 2021, Calypso Bay has sort of gone up 25 to 30%. And I think that's a conservative figure. Yeah, I think that's a real conservative figure. And without sort of putting you too much on the spot, and no one can predict the future, but what would you say we could look forward to as Calypso Bay residents? What could we look forward to in 2022 and a realistic growth sort of expectation?
Look, it's going to be an interesting year. The only thing that's possibly going to change my predictions will be the interest rate rises. But as we stand, I mean, January started off on a flyer. In Calypso Bay, there was no official unconditional sales in January. However, in February, I believe every single property that's currently on the market, bar 1 or 2, is currently under offer. There's been houses now on 400 square metre blocks on the water selling above $1.4 million. Whereas this time last year, you could buy a waterfront home for less than $1 million. Now the average price is coming up to $2 million for a 2-storey home. 14 Poinciana is a really good example of the difference in prices from there. There's one on Paradise Parade, I believe, has just gone for over $2 million as well. And there's a lot more going for that sort of rate. This year, what I think is going to happen is that with land prices now completely sold out, or land completely sold out in the last release, more people will be looking for houses. I know that within their land release recently, it's somewhere around 50% or more of those sales were from current owners. So we should see an increase of sales throughout this year before they release new land. The good things about this area that are coming is the Coomera Connector, which I don't think a lot of the residents out here know about.
And that's a great, that is sensational.
It's going to be amazing for this area. Although it may not hit the area for 5 to 10 years, the interstate interest we're getting in the area, they don't know anything about this. And it takes a lot of education to provide that to them. But what people don't understand is that right now Calypso Bay is, say, 15 minutes usually to the M1, whether you're going to Coomera, Pimpama or Yatala exit. To go on the M1, it's around about 15 minutes. This Coomera Connector should be leading out close to where the tip is in Jacobs Well, and it's going to go straight up through to Eagleby, which means we should be cutting it down to probably 5 to 7 minutes to get on the highway. With that, we'll bring developer interest. We already know the cane fields have been earmarked. The one day they will be developed when the council lets it happen. Developers have already put their name in there to get it done. Once that happens, we should have a lot more interest come. And I think when we look at the area in comparison to the Gold Coast waterfront homes, Runaway Bay, Hope Island, Paradise Point, which if you're international or interstate, that's the first place you possibly think of. The prices down there have currently gone through the roof until you look at the Coomera Connector. If you have a look at where that's going, the likes of Helensvale, Monterey Keys, Oyster Cove, all of these places, Hope Island, will be right next to this new M1. So those quiet locations that everyone wanted to be at will be no longer.
And look, I had a question about that, is that when I was in Melbourne looking at a property, the first place I looked at was Hope Island, Sanctuary Cove, Helensvale. So how do you sell Calypso Bay compared to well-established places like Hope Island and Sanctuary Cove?
Look, the first thing that I do is get interest. So look, a majority of people that you hear from that have bought in the area had never heard of Calypso Bay. And that's because it's Jacobs Well in the search, okay? And Jacobs Well average price is around about, when you put it all together, $770,000. And then these random houses would come up at $1.5 to $2.5 million, and a lot of buyers didn't understand. So I'm utilising social media for that, and taking out the suburb completely, basically, and just showing interstate buyers the lifestyle out here. When we consider the lifestyle, it's boating, it's fishing, it's the fact that it's a really community feel, it's high end, but it's affordable. Jet skiing, you know all about it. It's being able to jump straight out your backyard and jump on a canoe and you're into the ocean within 10 minutes. You can't get there anywhere else. If people look at Hope Island, they look at the luxury. There's a golf course there, there's gated access, things like that, and they're multi-million-dollar houses. But if they want a lifestyle of boating and actually enjoying the ocean, it's 25 to 30 minutes just to utilise the ocean. They're going to do 4 knots for half an hour.
And look, 100%, 100%. I got a good friend of mine, actually I'm seeing today, he's just up from Melbourne, but he bought a Bignor Waters, and I said to him, I was on my jet ski, and I said, mate, I'll literally go from Runaway Bay Marina to your house, I'll take a few photos. So off I went, 20 minutes later, I'm getting sunburn at 4 knots on the jet ski, and I'm like, I couldn't do this all day and every day. So I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, people from Melbourne, look, even Brisbane and these places, Gold Coast is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's what they want.
Exactly right. And it's just got to be sold that way. If we're not showcasing this, if this is the way that I sort of think, if real estate agents are hoping that people are searching for Jacob's Well, they'll get less inquiries, less offers. If we're focusing on people chasing a lifestyle and we can find them, they'll come to us. And that's where the prices come from. That's what we need to be doing.
Yeah. And look, you're talking in your early days, you had some pretty tough sales, door to door at Woodridge. You haven't had some easy sales here either in Calypso Bay. So Marina Parade, I think there was a house there listed with a local agent for 4 months. Obviously didn't sell. You've come in, sold it in 2 weeks.
2 days, that one.
2 days. 2 days, wow. And same thing, Poinciana, 14 Poinciana, that was on the property market was 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think it was 3 months with the last agent. Yeah, 3 months, yeah.
And you've come in and sold it in 2 weeks?
Correct, yeah.
So I suppose, how do you gain trust from those people? Like they've had a bad experience with the local agent. They've had to pack up their stuff every Saturday, go for walks, with open for inspections. How do you convert those people into trusting you again as an agent, and obviously trusting the process that you've got in store for them?
It's never easy, right? Once you've been on the market for 3 months, you're right, you've done open homes probably every Saturday, if not Sundays as well. Maybe one person has showed up, you haven't had offers, you've spent thousands of dollars possibly on marketing, hopefully not by that point, and you're not getting the traction you want. For another real estate agent to then come in and promise you the world is hard. So with me, I've got a lot of experience and proof that what I do works, but I'm offering a completely different product. Without going into too much, give away all my secrets. There's things that I do that no other agent in the area has access to for a start and is willing to do. Being young, being energetic and driven to do this, I've got access to, a lot of energy that no one else can provide, and that builds trust. But the products we use, I'm not going in for someone that's been on the market that did some professional photographs at a twilight and put a video on Instagram and hope for the best. I'm going in and offering a completely different product. We're offering things like staging, different ways to use to gain offers, a different way to market properties to interstate and international buyers, and even our photography and videography suite is completely different and inaccessible to anyone else. And that's sort of what I do. And by that point, I'm a big believer in anyone in Calypso Bay, if they're watching this, might have had a brochure of mine recently, that price is only important in the absence of value.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going up to clients like yourself who live in the area or someone else and saying, I'm the cheapest agent here, give me a go. I'm offering you the best amount of value, more value than anyone can ever offer. The price will work out later. Let's get you a result and let's do the right thing, and that's how I'm building the trust. And so far it's 3 from 3.
No, that's excellent. And I suppose it comes down to, you touch on marketing. You've got a different marketing strategy. I'm sure you'll get into that with the clients that give you a call. But staging is a massive thing. It wasn't a huge thing 5 years ago. Now it's big. I know when I sold my properties, I got a lot more money staging my properties. And it's just a fact. People can see the dream, they can feel the dream, they can see the lifestyle. Whereas an empty house, you can't really vision that. So you offer a staging package, complimentary. Can you just maybe elaborate on that a touch? Yeah,
basically the reason why we do staging, you touched on it there, an empty home, one, we can't get that vision. People, and look, in this day and age, majority of our imagination has changed. Growing up as a kid, probably same as you, we didn't have tablets, we didn't have all these things that we could utilise to give us an imagination. We had to come up with things ourselves. And so buyers of your age, my age, probably sort of have that ability. But as the older generation comes through and the younger generation starts moving, we're finding that we need to help them a fair bit. And look, properties look smaller, empty for a start. And if you've got a brand new home with furniture that's bought for comfort, for example, big heavy recliners that feel really nice to sit in but just don't look sexy and sleek to match the house design, it just doesn't give that right image. So what we do is, completely complimentary, is that we offer a styling package or staging package. So basically with staging, if you've got furniture that probably wouldn't shine it in the best light, for example, both of the 13 Marina Parade and 14 Poinciana had the same thing. They were both furnished. But the furniture just didn't show the quality to the home. We'll ask that all furniture be removed that we can work with, and we'll completely replace it with our own. We'll put art on the walls, we'll do throw rugs, we'll do everything to show the house in the best light.
That's a great service.
Every house is different. You know, we don't have the same furniture that we're dropping into every single house. We have a consultation. I provide all the information to our stagers, and they bring the furniture along. And when we talk about a team, we've got probably 8 to 12 people in the home staging at any time. We've got designers and we've got people working around. So we've got a lot of advice to get it done.
And like I said, sorry to interrupt, but like I said, I've had to pay for staging, and it's minimum $2,500. You know, I suppose that's for 4 to 6 weeks. You obviously sell the properties a bit quicker than that, so that's a positive. But no, it's a very good insight. I think it's staging for me is, like I said, we've really done well through staging. So.
And look, as an example, Poinciana Place is probably the biggest example of this, and I won't disclose the exact sale price just yet. But before I took it over, and after staging, we got $75,000 more than the highest offer achieved after 4 months.
Oh, there you go.
And it cost them nothing extra.
Correct.
Okay? So it's worth every cent.
Absolutely. No, very good point. So I suppose lastly, for a person looking to sell their house, what could you advise a person how to present the house, how to get it ready, and how do you choose the right agent?
Well, step one when we're talking about getting it ready, and I genuinely believe this is the best bet, is to get an agent in. We do find that, especially people that look to tidy up, renovate or things like that before they list a property, they're spending money on things that aren't actually going to affect the value. So talk to an agent, discuss what you're thinking you're going to spend and what you're thinking of doing, and we can provide you the right advice. When you're choosing an agent, ignore price. That's the biggest thing. Every single agent will have their own price. Their marketing packages will probably be different, and their commission schemes will be different. Ignore that until you decide who you want to go with. Okay? Choose an agent based on who you believe, based on the presentation, the process, the marketing, and their total enthusiasm and general sales ability. Choose them based on that. If price comes in at the end, then have that discussion. But if you're talking to 3 to 5 agents, which God help you, that's a lot of people to talk to. We're not the most exciting people in the world. But if you're sitting down with 3 to 5 agents, you're probably going to hear the same thing. There might be one person that stands out. If that person stands out, they're slightly more expensive, have that conversation with them. Do not choose on price. That's my biggest advice.